Okay guys, here's a quick look at our crystals. So we have to pour the water out later, but I wanted to show what it looks like so far. So here's the green ones because it's the most clear, and I can see them down in there. Can't wait to see what it looks like when I pour the water out. Okay guys, I have our crystals. I will say I went ahead and poured the water out of one jar just because I wanted to make sure that the crystals weren't going to fall out when I poured it. I was kind of worried about that, but they stayed put. So we have our other three. I'm going to pour the water out so we can look at them. So when you do this, we'll start with purple. You want to be really careful. These crystals in here are not like strong, sturdy crystals that you can hold in your hand for very long. They're fragile and they might break or they could melt. We don't want them to get warm either. So you want to be really gentle, but as long as you pour slowly and carefully, the crystals shouldn't move from the bottom. So I'm going to carefully pour out this water. Try to get as much as I can. I'm still a little nervous to turn the jar too far upside down. But as you can see, the crystals are all staying right there. And now for the big reveal. What do they look like? Here are some of our crystals. So I'll turn the jar. They're very slivery. They're tiny. It almost looks like snow or some really chopped up ice. But these are crystals made from the salt that was in this water. So if you put this back in the fridge, it will probably keep growing and getting a little bit bigger. If you leave it out in room temperature, it will probably disappear. They won't stay in the room temperature. But if you want, you can keep them in the fridge a little bit longer and see how big they grow. All right. And we can see it's still darker at the bottom where some of that water is pooled up down there. But I don't want to try to pour too much out. Okay, let's empty all of these and then we can see the difference in each jar and decide how it turned out. Here's the blue one I'd already done this morning. Here are the pink crystals. We can still see that rock down at the bottom. And here are our green crystals. Okay guys, so now let's kind of look at how many crystals grew in each one, because you may have made a guess based on how many rocks I put in there or how big the rocks were, that those jars might have more crystals than others. I will say the blue jar was the one that had 4 rocks in it, and I think it's probably the one with the smallest crystals. Maybe about even with pink. They did get a little tall towards the middle. They stick up more. And then green is just a little bit more. Green, pink, and purple, all 3 had 2 rocks in them. Green had some bigger rocks, but it didn't grow too much more. Purple had 1 big and 1 medium, smallish one, and purple is by far the one with the most crystals. So it didn't really go with what I thought might happen with how big they grew. So what I'm going to do with my crystals is I'm going to put them back in the fridge and I'm going to leave them there for a few days and I will update you guys on how much they grew. Alright, I hope if you're trying this at home that you get some really good results. Remember, if you want to keep your crystals for a while to see if they keep growing, that you need to keep them in the fridge. Keep them cold. Don't let them get too warm. Alright guys, can't wait to see how this turns out for everybody.